there are bad decisions, and then there are bad decisions. And this week on the Pete the Planner show podcast, top 1% in the world, I want to share a bad decision with you, and we're going to have that decision ranked by my friends, Kristen Elanius, Damian Dunn. Let me set the stage for you.
Okay.
About my bad decisions.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Scale of 1 to 10, 10 being an unbelievably bad decision.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then 1 being, I understand. And then what I will do is after you answer, I will validate your responses on the actual real life ramifications of the bad decision I made and tell you who's right. Does this make sense?
Okay.
Okay.
Picture this. I'm in Jasper, Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Jasper, Indiana? Kristen, that face says you've never been.
I've never been, I don't think.
Jasper, Indiana is an amazing place, primarily because they have a place called the Schnitzelbank, which is this German restaurant that will knock your socks off. Alas, I did not have time to go to the Schnitzelbank.
Should have been later, Jose.
It's okay. I know. Yeah. I didn't have time, so I had to just grab some food. Okay, I'm with our boy Lubs yesterday down in Jasper.
Oh, nice.
So we're like, we get done with something. We got to like quickly transition to drive back north. And we're like, just grab gas station food, whatever. Go, grab it, go. Can you go in the gas station?
10. Gas station food, 10.
Okay. Hold on.
Keep on a roller, 10.
So we go in there. Beautiful gas station. I think it's called a Hux.
Mm-hmm.
Hux.
Yeah, sure.
Really nice. There's tile. You go in. I'm like, I grab a water. I go to this counter that looks like it has like real prepared food. There's a lady preparing food, and I see spicy chicken tenders, and I'm like, I haven't eaten today. I will take those there, spicy chicken fingers, and then Lubs was driving, and I'm dipping gas station spicy chicken tenders on the way and eat them on the way home. 1 to 10. How bad of an idea was that? We'll start with Kristen Elanius. What do you think?
That was an 8.
Okay. Dame?
I've spoken. That's 10.
It's 10. You know what, guys, let me just tell you, ended up being somewhere between 8 and 10. It was a terrible decision. I still don't feel right. I had a headache last night. You know, you've made a bad food decision when it results in like a near migraine. So needless to say, Hux is not getting a great Yelp review for their chicken tenders from me. Kristen, speaking of travel,
oh my!
Turns out you were out gallivanting around the world on behalf of your money line this week. Where did you go?
I went a few different places. Some of them on accident. So I thought we could play a little game. So
okay, I like games.
Are the two of you familiar with the game where everybody holds up one hand and you say, put a finger down if, and if that thing applies to you, you put a finger down. And the first one who gets like 5, they win. Okay.
Okay, sure. I don't know this game, but I'm going to learn it.
You are going to learn it. You can put your hand up. Put a finger down if you've ever had a real life panic attack on an airplane.
Like been uncomfortable because of turbulence or like
clinical panic attack.
Yeah, like full, like first you're cold, then you're hot, you're going to be sick, like full on.
No. Okay.
Put a finger down if you've ever had a delayed flight and the only reason you made your connection was because your connecting flight was also delayed.
Of course. I mean, geez. Right? It's called air travel.
Put a finger down if, because of all of those delays, the airport that you landed in, even at 11 o'clock p.m., was so busy that you couldn't get an Uber to pick you up because you were taking that Uber driver too far from the airport. And it took 45 minutes to get an Uber at 11:45 p.m.
Wait, no, I haven't done that.
Oh, I think I have, what do I have? Two left?
You have 2 left, Kristen.
Put a finger down if you've ever been on a flight that was supposed to be 1 hour long and you woke up an hour and a half later and you were still at high altitude and the plane flew for like a whole nother hour before the pilot told everyone on board that, oh, by the way, we've diverted this flight to Lake Charles because we're under the minimum maintenance requirements for fuel and we can't actually land in Houston.
I mean, not the specifics, but very close. So I'm putting a finger down on that one.
Now put a finger down if all of those things happened to you on Monday.
Oh,
Yeah.
That so you were you started your trip in northern Indiana,
Correct.
and then where were you supposed to go after that?
I was supposed to connect at Dallas Fort Worth and then go to the Bush Airport in Houston.
And you
But
ended up in Louisiana.
Correct.
Close.
Because they let us leave Dallas Fort Worth, but the weather was too bad in Houston to land. So we circled for a long time, still couldn't land. So we had to divert to Lake Charles for fuel for them to then take us back to Houston.
Dame, my dad used to say when something would go wrong, and he still says this to me to this very day, I'm like, well, you know, it builds character. So Kristen, I think it just builds character.
I don't ever fly without delay. Don't ever travel with me via the air. It just every time.
Delay is generous. I mean, you'd be happy for delays at some points of your stories.
Yeah, that's true. I got to my hotel, I think 6 hours after I was originally planned to.
Just normal business travel.
Before we get started, I had a moment this week where I was talking to a business associate, whatever. And the person called me, or I called them, and I said, what are you doing? They said, well, in fact, I'm driving about 100 miles an hour on the Autobahn right now. And I was like, that is the most unbelievable answer that I've ever heard. Yeah, that's incredible. Dame, can you imagine that you're on the other end of that call driving 100 miles an hour on the Autobahn?
I can imagine it, and that's what I would like to be doing right now.
Fair enough. Instead, you're going to answer the following question from the mailbag as soon as we start the show in 3, 2, 1. This week on the Pete the Planner Show, we answer your money questions. Here's how the show works. You email us, askpete@petetheplanner.com. That's askpete@petetheplanner.com. And here's what may happen. We may read your email on the air and we may help you. Or we'll have our own segments like we're going to do today as well. Joining me as always is Damian Dunn. Absolutely no relation as far as the genetic tests show. Hello, Damian.
Hello, Pete.
Kristen Elaney is also no relation, have not done the testing to verify, but hello, Kristen.
Hello, Pete.
Dan, we haven't done the test either because I don't want to take a 23andMe because I don't want to be part of a future crime, if you know what I mean.
Once upon a time, I thought you were just being silly, but I think I'm starting to side with you on this one.
Wow. Kristen, early agreement in the show. Let's start the show. Good day to Kristen and Co. That's how you know someone listens, because the real name of the show is Kristen and Co., not the Pete the Planner Show.
Yeah, but the usage of good day is a real throwback as well.
My question is around if using some equity on a move to decorate or purchase home decor ever makes sense. It feels frivolous, but we have always lived pretty frugally on the home decor front, and I would like to finally have a few nice things until you have kids, and then you say, what, Dame?
We're going to wait to buy anything nice for another dozen years.
I'll take it, but I was looking for, this is why we can't have nice things.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think we'd go crazy, but for some examples, our living room table set is one we got on Craigslist for $150 nearly a decade ago. Our TV stand is damaged from a flood in a previous home, and my husband's desktop is no longer attached to his legs, bless his heart. Do you think they called the desk his, or does she mean her husband? This frugality has allowed us to build up a healthy retirement nest egg emergency fund. It will continue with a high savings rate on healthy incomes, but it still feels hard to feel like using home equity on vanity purchases is okay. I didn't know they were going to replace the
vanity.
Yeah. Maybe it's just because I am trying to nest and start a family, but this time I want home to feel more cozy and coherent than our past moves. I've moved 9 times in the last 15 years, but we think we will be at the new location for a while this time. Quick timeout, Dame.
Granted.
9 times in 15 years. Line of work, assassin. What do you think this person does? 9 times in 50, they're an assassin. This is clearly an assassin.
Normally, I would have said military related, but they say corporate relocation in the very next paragraph. So,
For context, we are looking at a corporate relocation that will cover all moving expenses and closing costs. We purchased our current home in 2020 for $550,000 American dollars with 10% down. We expect to clear at least $330,000 on the sale due to high capital appreciation rates in South Florida and everywhere, it seems, in recent years, and we'd be looking to purchase at or below our current $800,000 price point in the new location, which would still give us a healthy 35% plus down payment if we used around $30K for some grown-up furniture. Our budget, considering expected mortgage plus PTI and HOA costs, would be fine with the expected purchase if we remove some equity, but it would slow the home payoff timeline slightly. Is it crazy to use some of the equity for this purpose instead of rolling into the next home? Are there any general guidelines for furnishing costs? I hear lots of car purchasing guidelines from financial experts, but haven't heard much on home furnishing, which seems to be another large purchase folks make. Would appreciate your insights and any discussion on this topic. The 30-somethings living with college dorm room furniture. And let's head to the break. No, I'm just kidding. I, first off, love this question. Second of all, I enjoyed the writing.
Yeah.
Enjoyed the writing. Thank you, listener. Who wants to swing first?
Not all at once.
Boy, don't talk over each other.
Okay. I wish the one thing I wish that we could know is what does slightly mean as far as the change in their timeline, because the emailer mentions that nesting, maybe starting a family, can we still line up freedom from this new mortgage, even with taking some equity out with maybe college funding for kids or specific retirement goals? Like, to me, that's the answer, is how do we align this with other goals that we have?
All right. Good rip to start. Dame, do you agree or disagree so far?
my my perspective might be slightly different. I mean, they've moved 9 times in the last 15 years, which, bless you, I can't imagine moving 9 times in 15 years. They think they're going to be here for a while this time. I'm very curious as to what a while means, because in theory, this furniture is going to follow you through maybe a couple more moves in the next 5 to 10 years. And if you're worried about the house not being paid off, the timeline being shifted a little bit, chances are you're not going to pay off this house anyway. And so if you can use some equity that you've already got to buy some furniture that's going to hopefully be with you in a long time, but if you're having kids, who knows at that point, I think it's an okay use of some of the equity in your home, because you're buying something that you're going to use for quite a while, and you aren't going into debt to get the furniture, which we see way too often.
Yeah, Dame, have we agreed twice with each other
Unofficially.
to start the day? Unofficially.
Unofficially.
I buy the furniture. Like, I'm almost like a full stop buy the furniture. I guess it would be buy the furniture full stop. Because if you full stop before you buy the furniture, you wouldn't hear the advice.
Right.
Buy the furniture. If you're bringing a kid into the house, you don't want a water-damaged TV stand. I mean, you got black mold in this baby's lungs. Like, Kristen, you make a face. But here's the thing. Like, buy new furniture. Like, don't go crazy. I don't think you need $30,000 to buy new furniture. Maybe $10,000. Maybe I'm crazy. Kristen, do you think they need $30,000 for new furniture?
I don't think they do, but I am having trouble agreeing with the two of you that this is the best way to do this. And it's only because what financially has kept them from just buying things as they go, even if they have moved a lot? I'm a little perplexed by this idea that we're doing it all at once, instead of saying, like, we're going to move and the couch we had before doesn't fit in the living room in the house we have now, right? As someone who's moved a lot, that's very realistic. So that's my concern, is why haven't we just kind of done this along the way?
I think I have an answer, and feel free to call me out on it as normal. what if these people are paralyzed by indecision? What if they're the sort of people that really struggle to make, I'm going to call them major purchase decisions because that's a relative term, but major consumer decisions like, I need to spend $1,000 on a couch. I need to spend $1,500. I think this is a rip the Band-Aid off thing, because I think if they dip their toe in the water of, well, we'll just get a new bedroom set, it'd be another 3 years until they get a couch, and then another 5 years until they get a desk. So I don't think per se they have to replace everything. But I mean, spending 10 grand on furniture on an $800,000 house, given the circumstances they've talked about, I don't think it's crazy.
No, I think I think 10 grand is very low for furniture's pretty expensive these days. And for a while, I haven't checked fairly recently, but you couldn't get it. I mean, it was a huge wait from the time you placed your order to the time it actually came in. So Pete, you said something that actually makes me curious. I wonder why they've moved 9 times in the last 15 years.
Work.
It says corporate relocation this time, but does it say that that's why they've been?
They're an assassin. I already pointed this out.
Oh,
They kill people for a
you're
living.
right. Yeah.
You're not listening?
How silly. Of
Why
me.
are you not even listening?
Of me.
Kristen, do you think 10,000 is too low? You seem like you nodded there.
I think it's too low. I just recently bought a couch and I didn't even buy anything fancy and it was like $2 grand.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, guess what? This means the bell just went off. Pete is out of touch.
Hey.
Wow, we got there in 9 minutes this week. That's a record. No, probably not. All right, let's take a break. Come back after the break, and we're going to talk, oddly enough, the election, but we're going to be calm. That's next on the Pete the Planner Show. I'm Pete the Planner. You know, when Mrs. Planner and I bought our last home in the year circa 2007, maybe, we were in a little townhome. Then we moved into an apartment where our home was being built. And during that time frame, like 6 to 8 months, we bought a bunch of furnishings and then stored them so we can move in. And we went from a, 1,600 square foot home to at least twice the size of that. Okay. So you need to fill some spaces. And I'm thinking back as to what we spent to furnish like TVs and everything. I feel like it was like $14,000, $16,000, something like that in 2007. So maybe if I would have gone down that path, done a little inflation math there, then maybe you arrive at 30.
I think it's a lot closer to 30 than 10.
And to be truthful, we did that in a weird, we weren't exactly nesting, but you know what I mean? Yeah, like a couple years later, we had a kid, but we were 30 something. Like, yeah, okay. See, I'm not that out of touch. I'm just out of touch. Yeah. Oh, hey, if you're watching the Olympics this week, everybody, you happen upon the competitive survival, which I call swimming. Yeah. And you see a bearded man on the U.S. Coaching team. That's my brother-in-law, Chris Plum. So clap for him. He's got 3 different athletes: the Shackles, the brother and sister team, and then Drew Kibler. So just know that that's the fam.
Is he the only bearded coach?
I don't know the facial hair status of the U.S. coaching teams.
He said if you see a bearded coach on the U.S., so we could be cheering for somebody completely wrong.
I don't know. Kristen, were you confused?
Go USA.
Oh, okay. You guys ready to do that? Kristen looks like, you know what? I had a long travel week. Can you two quit yapping?
The energy is not high here, gentlemen. I'm sorry.
I came into the office this morning. I was sort of struggling. I said to a couple of our friends, I was like, guys, I don't know if I got anything for radio today. Then I had some of the liquid courage, but the morning version.
Coffee.
I feel much better. Better. Okay. Here we go. I don't even know how we're going. Oh, I'll just make it up. That's what I do. In 3, 2, 1. Back on the Pete the Planner Show. Dame, Pete, you and I love talking politics with each other off the air.
All the time.
Off the air, though.
Right.
Like we choose to have this discussion off the air. And it's fun. I feel like we've known each other for 7 7 years.
Over 7 years, if we count like the messages and phone calls.
That sounds creepy, Kristen.
Oh my.
I've known Kristen for 15 years, if that counts. No, that just sounds weird, right? All right. So, Dame, I feel like I've learned so much from your perspective, and you and I share many perspectives, and we also don't share a lot of perspectives, but that's the fun of it, right? You kind of talk about it, but we do it in a safe environment where it's just you and me. We're not public. No one's shaming anyone. We just get to explore it.
And we respect each other as opinions, and we know that everybody wants the best for whatever, and we just come at it from two different angles.
And sometimes I'll say something to you, and you'll leave the conversation. You'll probably go back to your people like, he's crazy. And sometimes I'll leave our conversation. You'll say something I'm like, well, that's a little out there, but it's okay. We reconvene and it's fine.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk politics here for a second in a particular way, but we're not doing that. Okay. We're not doing any of our normal conversation. And here is the premise, Kristen, as you freak out and think, did I really want to be part of this today? Kristen, I made an assertion on the IBJ, that's the Indianapolis Business Journal podcast last week, which aired this week. Anyway, no one cares. And then 2 days later, the New York Times writes a story on this. And here is the comment. No matter, not on the podcast, but a similar conclusion. They came to a similar conclusion. No, Times is not writing an article about me. Not until my Ponzi scheme's revealed. Okay. I believe that based on what is happening in the economy right now and interest rates preparing to fall, and some of the investments made by the current administration and some policies from the previous administration, that whoever ends up being the president in 2025 and beyond, and for the next term at least, whether it is former President Trump or I guess at this point we're saying Vice President Harris, it's not official, but we'll just go with that because why split hairs? Whoever it is going to find themselves in a robust economy that is creating jobs, that is massive GDP. You're going to see the market going crazy because of interest rates and the Fed policy, which the president has nothing to do with. So that is where we begin the discussion. Do you agree? Do you disagree? How much do you think the president actually impacts the economy? Kristen, you want to start or pass?
I would like to pass, please.
Okay, great. Dan?
The president, and not this particular president, just the president in general, gets way too much credit and blame for what goes on economically in the country. They can try and steer messages. They can try and nudge people to go the right way. Sorry, air quotes saying the right way.
Yes.
But they don't really have all that much to do with the outcome. I mean, they can try and pull some executive order type stuff to release some funds here and there, which does have a huge impact. But in the grand scheme of things, we're talking about GDP and things like that. I think there's way too much credit and blame put on the shoulders of the sitting president.
All right. So I've got some thoughts, but Kristen, do you want to jump in or pass?
I don't disagree with anything Damian said. I think the thing that I find challenging in this space is the disconnect between how people that we're talking to every day at Your Moneyline, how they don't feel the reality that we often are seeing by these metrics. And that's where I struggle, is regardless of if you're right about this, whoever's elected, blah, 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 we continue to hear that people are struggling. And so that's just where I ultimately go to is, even if, yes, the economy does better, how do we reconcile that when there are so many people who feel like they're treading water?
Yeah, it's really interesting. I maybe want to explore that deeper as this goes on, because I had not considered that as it relates to this topic. Dame, I think, let's talk inflation for a second.
Sure.
Let's talk inflation. About 3.5 years ago, do you remember going to a gas pump and do you remember seeing the stickers?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I did
remember
that.
The stickers?
Yeah,
I did that.
I will long contend that incredibly clever, also vandalism. So it's like, I like a good joke, whether I agree with the premise or not, but it's also vandalism. So inflation's interesting because I personally believe, no matter who's the president, it's as much about Fed policy as it is about anything else. If you are artificially stoking or slowing down the economy by increasing interest rates, it's kind of what happens. I mean, I feel like the Fed is as impactful on the economy as the head of the executive branch of the government. Do you view that differently?
Not at all. I think the Fed has a bigger role in the overall outcome of the economy and GDP and things like that than the policies put forth by the sitting executive, because well, they're just suggestions. They have to go through Congress anyway before they get to his desk. So the Fed has a much more direct impact on the financial realities that we all face on a day-to-day basis.
Kristen, you want to see me poke the bear twice?
No,
Yeah.
Lord.
Do it.
You mean his or her desk?
Yes.
Okay, that's one vote. And then also, and Dame, the Fed's not even elected by the people.
Not at all. Which, I mean,
Not at all.
He took the bait every time. I love it. No, but that's true. I mean, that's true.
yeah.
So, Kristen, do you believe, based on the surface of this argument, do you believe that interest rates are going to fall over the next 18 months? Do you believe that?
Yes, I do.
Do you believe the economy will benefit from that?
In theory, yes, I do. I believe that.
Where does it fall apart in your mind?
It falls apart for me when we talk about inflation specifically, and the fact that even at its peak, inflation was what percent?
11? I think?
11. Okay.
Dame?
Except
No.
It's 9.5, I think, but
Okay.
I could be wrong.
Okay.
Whatever.
10%. We're meeting in the middle here. You know, there are many, many, many goods and services that I purchase that are far more than 10% expensive. Like
Mhm.
the food for my dogs is like double the price that it was at the beginning of the pandemic. So that's where I kind of struggle, is like, no matter what, even if inflation comes back, or I'm sorry, even if interest rates come back down, the price of their FOOD is not coming down.
Do you have headphones in right now or earbuds?
I
Kristen?
do.
So if I were to say even their treats,
They are sleeping.
Nothing.
they can't
Yeah.
hear it. Dang it. Dame, do you buy the idea that the economy will benefit from falling interest rates over the next, let's call it 18 months for giggles?
Yes. But I am much closer to Kristen's point of view on, we have a bit of a bifurcation into what the economy is and what the reality of a lot of families actually is. We've had runaway cost increases. That might have been a little much, but it was significant cost increases in some very important areas. And it is really, really tough for people to make ends meet. And unless wages increase again to try and make up for some of that, or prices come down, which I don't see happening anytime soon, there's going to be a increased pressure on the month-to-month financial livelihoods, realities, whatever you want to call it, of a lot of families in the country, that it's going to make it really tough for them to achieve long-term financial goals.
I have a couple more thoughts on this, and if you do, please let's share them after the break. And then I think we've got another email question we can get to if there's not enough meat on that bone. Speaking of treats on the bone for Kristen's dogs, we'll be back right after this. I'll talk a little bit more. Does the president, whoever it is, get too much credit, too much blame for what's happening? That's next on the Pete the Planner Show. I'm Pete the Planner. I have more thoughts. I just don't want to continue them during the break, so we're going to have to talk about something else.
Okay. Pete, just trying to put together a little golf outing. Do you want to come up and be a part of that?
When?
I don't know. There's a bunch of swim dads. Since you're swim adjacent with your family relative, I thought maybe you'd want to be a part of that.
I'd rather be called Speedo adjacent.
Oh my.
There will be no Speedos at this outing.
I wouldn't mind playing golf with you. That would be a lot of fun. It just depends. Like, timing's a weird thing for me these days, unfortunately.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll try and give you more details.
It was really kind of you to invite him, because before the show started, Pete informed us that no one invites him to do stuff. So that was really sweet of you to include him.
See?
All right. This is true. And by the way, this is not like I said in a private moment, Kristen, which you're airing our private things.
Excuse me.
I'm just kidding. No, I was saying that private moment, meaning I wasn't asking for invites. Like I wasn't like, oh, no one invites me.
Well, subconsciously, maybe.
No, fair. And let me say this publicly now to everyone who can hear this. Don't invite me to anything. This is why I don't get invited, because I put off. I'm not coming. I'm very big, and if I do, I'll be there earlier than it starts, and I'm gonna leave first. I'm not interested.
Pete's leaving after the 16th hole to beat the rush out of the parking lot.
Yeah, there could be traffic there.
Don't want to go.
Haven't even told you where we're golfing.
I know. I mean, here's the thing, Dame.
French Lick.
Here's the problem, Dame. If you said, Pete, come up my way, you and I are gonna go play some golf, I'm there. I mean, that's you and me.
Yeah.
But if you're like, and then there's some guys that you don't know, I'm like, oh, I don't.
Yeah, I understand that.
I don't have the social energy for new people.
Yeah.
Kristen, does that resonate at all or no? I feel like you like the news.
I don't know what that means.
New people, plural of new
the
people.
news.
News.
Okay, the news.
Obviously.
No, not really. But as I'm sure the two of you can relate, sometimes you just like put on your social face and you pretend like you're having a good time, and then you're like, see ya.
I've crossed the Rubicon of old there. I don't have a social face anymore.
I don't know. This is not a conversation fit for the podcast, but I have questions on your social face and how you may choose to employ or not.
Go ahead.
You are asked to participate in a number of public events,
but that's work.
Is that how you view them? Like you are willingly participating in those?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
I unless you're meaning something that I don't understand, like there's my professional life and there's my personal life. And if it is within the realm of professional life, you get my 100% energy. I am in. If it's my personal life, I'm not interested on any level.
Yeah, I guess I was not necessarily equating some of these other things that you've done to still your professional life. I was allocating them more to your personal decisions that you're doing, but you still have. Yeah, I can see that. I just don't know. Line them up properly.
I also lived in this weird space, Dame. You understand this, where they were kind of one and the same for a while. Like I just viewed myself as Pete the Planner, and that was like a thing. And it was like on the weekend. I'm not that person anymore. I'm just like, eh.
Well, that's why I've really taken what you've tried to do to heart, and what you've told me you've tried to do is like just try and minimize the Pete the Planner kind of persona and part of your life. And so when I think about some of these other things outside of the wonderful stuff that we do here, I just think that's Pete doing that, not necessarily Pete the Planner doing that. And so I didn't make that jump.
Well, here's a good litmus test for this. Kristen, we'll start with you. Like if you see someone who you don't know, but they come up to you and they say, hey, I listened to the show. I love it. Do you feel like you're able to deliver your show persona, your work self to them in that interaction, in that moment? Are you the same person in this personal setting than you are on this show?
Yes, I was actually just recently told I give off golden retriever energy, so I am capable of doing that in person as well.
But you're able to like, oh, I love the show, and this is a stranger, and you're like, oh, awesome, you do that. You can do that.
Yes, I can, and I also find it exhausting.
Okay, Dame.
Last time that happened to me, I did not do a good job of that. It was, I totally get it. Yeah, it was a surprise, and I apologized to that dear person. If you're listening to this, I was not the best version of myself. I was polite. I was kind. I was not the same me that is on the show.
To this day, like last week, a guy downstairs, I'm at McAllister's, which is below our office now.
Mhm.
He was he was like, but I'm at work, so I can go with it, right? I'm like, yeah, all right. I'm at a soccer pitch on the weekend, right? Someone comes up, "Hey, I love the show," and I'm like, "Hey, thanks, man." Like that's all I can do.
Yeah.
That's all I can do.
Yeah.
I don't know. This is why I don't get invited to things. Don't invite me to anything, except you guys can invite me.
Yeah.
I want to sit around with Kristen and her friend, drinking some tequila, drinking some beers, like that. I would love that, but I'm not sure that she would love that.
Probably not.
I think I could be fun in that situation as long as there's ample parking.
Yes.
Plenty of parking.
Okay.
Plenty of parking.
I do have a company to run. Let's keep going here. Oh, Lord. Okay. In 3, 2, 1. Back on the Pete the Planner show. Finishing up just a brief discussion of what the economy is setting up to be, no matter who is the next president, and the idea that no matter who it is, kind of gets to benefit from it. And this is coming off of two things, Dame. This is coming off some policies that were put in place by the previous administration, the Trump administration, and sort of building up within the Biden administration. So whether it is now then Trump or theoretically Harris, no matter who it is, will benefit from both of those things. Are we good?
Yeah, and the next president is going to have some pretty significant decisions to make, thinking specifically about the Trump era tax cuts that those start to expire. So if former President Trump is reelected, I think we can clearly know what side of the table he's going to fall on to try and make sure that those are re-upped for another term, at least what is already existing, if not maybe a little bit more, I don't know, favorable to whomever. But if Vice President Harris is elected, I think there's going to be some wringing of the hands, and I don't know how the economy is going to handle that time period.
I hear that. I have a couple ideas I'd like you to reflect on because they're hypotheses. Two things that former President Trump is talking about. One being massive tariffs, right? And the other being I'm choosing my words. I don't know why. Immigration reform, mass deportation, these sorts of things, right? So from an economics standpoint, I think both of those could create some challenges, just like Dame, you said, there's challenges on the side. So the one challenge with tariffs, that could be inflationary.
Sure.
For sure, right? I mean, and arguably it was last time. The second thing with mass deportation and immigration reform, a side effect of that would be labor costs increase potentially. So you're right, Dame. I think there are some massive decisions for whoever's next, and then that stacks on that particular way. The one thing, Kristen, that to me really sticks out as to how President Trump and then President Biden both contributed to the same path was all of the government stimulus under Trump, and then following through with all the government stimulus under Biden, which then equaled about $12,800 per family of 4 in government stimulus during that like 24-month period. Do you think about that as one of the drivers of inflation when you think about the last few years?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I don't know if this is reality, but this is truly what it feels like, which is, I mean, we just created this money that we didn't have. And then both candidates talk about how the other contributed so much to the deficit, and they both had a hand in that.
Yeah. All right. Anybody got anything else they want to go here? Did we survive? Did we do it?
I think we spoke about politics in a rational, professional, adult manner. Way to go, team.
I think it's because we look through the lens of economics and we tried to pretty much keep everything else out of it. I think maybe the issues is what we just talked about.
Yeah, I mean, you know how passionate people can get about specific issues, especially fiscal. So I still think we managed something very, very momentous.
Well, I didn't stop. Okay, I'm going to mess it up then. I'll try not to mess it up. But I think it's when you look at something like immigration that it ends up being an economics issue, maybe a byproduct of it. But on the surface, it doesn't feel like an economics issue, and we avoided the surface. Is that fair?
Yes. Yeah, I think that specific topic is way more complex with different angles and facets and concerns than we are addressing. But from the economic or monetary side of things, yes, I think we did nicely.
Okay, let's Bill. Hi, Pete the Planner Show. We need some advice on a financial decision we're facing. My spouse and I have lived in our home for several decades, and it has appreciated significantly in value. Now that our kids are grown and out of the house, we have more space than we need. We've considered selling the house and downsizing to something similar. This would free up the equity, which we would then use to enhance our retirement savings or invest elsewhere or buy furniture. However, current home is nearly paid off, giving us stability and security. Our retirement income streams could cover our needs, and we plan to leave some assets to our children. We're unsure whether the financial benefits of selling and downsizing outweigh the advantage of keeping our long-time home. What would you recommend? Should we sell and downsize or stay in our nearly paid off home? Thanks for your advice. Cali. I wonder if they're from Cali.
Significant appreciation.
All right. Kristen.
What's the first thing that the two of you think of when someone mentions selling a house they've lived in for a long time with significant equity? Is there something that immediately comes to mind for the two of you?
What's it called? Deferred maintenance.
That's a good one. Not where I went immediately, but that is a good
well,
one.
let's see where Dame goes, because I'm super curious. Dame, what do you think about it?
Did the appreciation eclipse the homeowner's exclusion?
That's exactly where I went. Is do we
Say
have
more.
more appreciation in the home than we can exclude from a taxation perspective? So when you sell your primary residence, if you're married filing jointly, you can exclude $500,000 of gain and you don't have to pay taxes on that. But if they have more gain than that, then you're taxed at long-term capital gains rates. So that's something they need to consider. I don't know what significant appreciation is, but you want to just make sure that you don't sell this huge asset and then you get this big bill.
By the way, that exclusion, the dollar amounts haven't changed in forever.
Which is interesting.
Yes.
Because the average home price has nearly doubled in the last, I think I saw a stat, it was like 4 years or something like that this morning.
And this was the rates like when I first started paying attention to this, which is when I took the CFP exam, which would have been nearly 2 decades ago.
That's what the rates, those rates were the same then?
Haven't changed, 250 and 500.
Wow.
Anybody else just notice the last 90 seconds of the show where I didn't say anything and two really smart people had this great conversation, like how much better the show is without me? Anybody else? Because I'm just sitting here like, wow, this is really great. I love about that. Wow. Look at you two.
Yeah.
This is a proud papa moment.
It's the CFP level conversation, Pete.
I can see myself out of it. All right. So absent your concern here, Kristen, which is obviously a very important concern.
Yeah.
Absolutely downsize. 100%. I like unequivocally do it. Let someone else enjoy the space with their family. Move on. I think too many people keep big homes into their retirement, and then the deferred maintenance continues to stack up. It gets harder to deal with. It doesn't fit your lifestyle. Like, get out of there. Burn it down. No, don't burn it down. Dame, are you get out? I'm excited to get out of my family home is what I'm saying. What are your thoughts?
I don't know.
Yours is different.
I feel a little different because there are some questions we don't have answers to. They said the kids are grown out of the house. Where are they? Are they still local? I mean, does it really make sense to move if they've got it paid off or nearly paid off, and they can still have this center of family activity where the kids and grandkids and whatever can still come over on a regular basis, and if it's paid off they can host bigger family events even though it's just them? Whereas if they downsize, now maybe they're the ones that are traveling to their kids' houses to go to these family events. Instead, as they get older and slow down, they're going to probably want to stay put if they can and have people come to them. Pay for somebody to come in and clean the place every once in a while. If that's not what if it's paid off, they're going to have some freed up cash to help around the house with normal chores. So I don't know. I feel like there's some questions that if we had answers to, we could better address this question. I have to be honest. When I first read it, Pete, I was in your camp. I was sell it, just downsize, have some of that equity setting aside. But the more I thought about it, I don't know. Location could be really, really important, especially if the proximity of their family is still nearby.
That's fascinating. Dame with the big grandpa energy.
Mhm.
Didn't expect that.
I got my New Balances and
What?
everything.
Yeah, Kristen, I just hadn't considered that. Like, now you've got to be still the matriarch and patriarch of the larger family, and I have had an excitement of shedding all responsibility of my family here in a few years. So coming up after the break, the biggest waste of money of the week and the news right here on the Pete the Planner Show. I'm Pete the Planner. Damn, I had not even considered that. Kristen, had you thought of that?
Yes.
Jeez, am I the stupidest person on this show? Don't answer that. We all know the answer. You guys, for 60 seconds, I don't know. Kristen, I know you've got a lot going on, and damn, you don't. But if after the show, go back and listen to that like 60 to 90 seconds. It was like a really good show, and it's because I didn't say anything. It was so good. I was like, oh my God, I would listen to this.
She'll listen and watch, so I don't have to do either.
I have a hot take.
Fire away.
Kristen, every time you don't love hot takes, Kristen.
No, not so much.
What if? No.
Well, now you
What? Come on, you can't do that.
No, you know what, Dame? Let's just do that one off the air. Let's
Okay,
just do that
fair
one
enough.
off the air.
All right, sorry.
Let's do that one off the air.
Sorry, loyal listeners, you're getting cut out.
So I in my studio now, I can like mess with the lights a little bit. I've got a little gender reveal background going today, a little pink on one side, blue on the other. Little gender reveal. By the way, we're not expecting. Wouldn't that be an interesting way to tell you guys? Hey guys, I have some news. Oh my! I'm sweating.
I'm just thinking of Mrs. Planner breaking the news to you.
Yeah, I think we've gone too far with this. I am celebrating my 24th wedding anniversary on Monday.
Congratulations.
I look barely old enough to have been married 50 years.
That's
24 years. We got married when we were children, 22 years old.
Mhm.
Barely a job between us, a month after college.
Barely a job.
Look at us now.
some would argue still barely a job between the two of you.
Yeah, that's true. Good Lord. I'm gonna move on. Okay. All right. What do we got here going? Sorry, I just gotta do a little. I'm still getting used to the new studio, guys.
Settling in though. I mean, you look
getting better.
Yeah, I really like you standing up, by the way. It's really a good move. Good call.
I don't sit a lot. I don't sit. I don't know what it is. Like, you'd think for someone that stands and moves as much as I do that I'd be more sleek and slender. Alas, I'm just like I'm about to tip over. I'm like a top at all times. No? Anybody? Kristen doesn't like it. Kristen doesn't like the negative self-imagery talk. She feels uncomfortable by it. Okay, here we go. In 3, 2, 1. This week's biggest waste of money of the week right here on the Pete the Planner Show is...
What?
Dame's laughing out loud. The lumberjack stool. A reclaimed tree stump repurposed into a seat or a side table. This lumberjack stool features a polished surface for a finished look. Other than that, it's all natural, meaning each one will look different from the last with imperfections, unique grooves, and all. Given they're all hand-sourced in India, not manufactured in bulk at some massive factory, whether you claim a seat on it by a campfire or rest one of these stylish copper mugs atop it, it's a handy, one-of-a-kind piece other people will surely notice, if not commend you, for making it. Dame, I'm so glad you're laughing because when I thought of you, I'm like, Dame has 100 of these in his yard right now.
I'm sitting on a fortune. It's so frustrating.
Okay, so I want to explain it to you. This it's about 17 inches tall. Okay. It's about 16 inches wide. It's a not a stump because I think a stump's in the ground. It's a log.
Listen, I'm going to put this company out of business right now. I'll do custom heights and sizes.
So these are 100 pounds. No, I don't not cost wise. The weight is 100 pounds.
Okay.
They're shipped from India. They're logs, 100-pound logs shipped from India.
Just
They're
float them.
really nice. Kristen, what do you think this, lumberjack stool would cost a brother?
I think this might be your best pick ever. Honestly.
Wow. Thank you.
This is a good one. And to ship 100 pounds, what? This costs $300.
$300 for a log. Can I get a timeout, Dame? I know we were about to go
No.
in. There's a home. There's a home. It's about 4 miles from my home in Carmel, Indiana. And you drive by it, and it's got a chain link fence, old school, low chain link fence, like a gravel driveway, and then a house on the property. And off of the gravel driveway, this is a small ranch. Like, it's just like a ranch. It's like pretty inconspicuous, other than 1,000 logs. Like, this person has more firewood than anyone I've ever seen in my entire life. And you're thinking, and it just keeps going. Like, at any given time, there is more firewood from the previous day, and it's 95 degrees outside. So they either are like fueling a kill chamber or something, or they're selling these things. So that person has millions of dollars. I'm going to take a picture of it this weekend and show it to you. It's millions of dollars of these lumberjack stools. Dame, how much do you think this costs?
It's completely pointless and arguably artistic. So I'm going to go with $750.
Oh, $450.
Nice job.
For the lumberjack stool. And yes, Kristen, I do take some pride in knowing that might have been the biggest waste of money of week of all time on the show. Dame, what's in the news this week?
It's the absolute closest I've ever come to uttering an expletive on the air.
Really? I feel like I have uttered an expletive on the air.
The global IT outage caused by a botched CrowdStrike update last week is expected to cost U.S. Fortune 500 companies $5.4 billion. And for their troubles, CrowdStrike is offering lunch. According to TechCrunch, the cybersecurity firm sent its partners $10 Uber Eats gift cards to show it was sorry for, quote, the additional work that the July 19th incident has caused. The email to partners also included the line, quote, apologies for the inconvenience, which now gives you cover to use it for any mistake you've made that's under $5.4 billion. Thanks, CrowdStrike.
That is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Here, who was in the meeting where they decided, hey, we got to do something about this? And somebody said, I've got it, $10 gift cards. And the room was like, yeah,
yes,
that's it.
That's genius.
Right on. Like, who made that decision?
As a person who generates a lot of creatively bad ideas, can I by the way, you've both been in meetings with me where I'm just firing off these sorts. You know what we'll do? Let's buy everybody lunch and we'll send them like you. I think the CEO came up with this because this
That's funny.
I come up with so many bad ideas that our colleagues just go, oh yeah, and then they just figure out a way to do something else. This is totally the CEO. I guarantee this is it. You know what? Here's what we're going to do. What's the CEO's name? Do we know the CEO's name?
I don't believe it's in this piece.
All right. Here's what we're going to do. Lunch is on us.
Where is $10?
Yeah. You say it was an Uber gift card?
$5.
$10 Uber Eats.
Yeah, it paid for your tip and the delivery fee.
Here's what we're going to do. We're going to make a person buy their own lunch. That's what it did.
But we'll get them there as they're cleaning up the mess from our mistake.
And by the way, Uber Eats must run on CrowdStrike and Microsoft, so we won't even get it.
Yeah.
I did say at our all-team meeting this week, I was like, well, actually, I'm very glad we were not impacted, is what I'm saying.
Yes.
Yeah. Dave, what else is in the news?
Cash provides people with a lot of flexibility. That's one of the main takeaways from a classic Wu-Tang song. And from a $60 million study of a universal basic income backed by OpenAI CEO Sam Altman. The AI cheerleader has been a proponent of UBI for years, fueled by his belief that AI will eventually eliminate traditional jobs. Cheers, everybody. And he put his money behind it, partially funding the largest U.S. basic income pilot program ever. The findings are now trickling in. Here's how it worked. The program enrolled 3,000 people across Texas and Illinois with an income below $28,000. From November of 2020 to October of 23, a third of the participants received $1,000 a month for 3 years, and the rest received $50 a month for 3 years. For those who got $1,000, the study found they spent $310 more per month on average, mostly on rent, transportation, and food. There are a couple other things, but first, is this surprising? Got 1,000, spent 310 more on average.
So what you're saying is they did not maintain their lifestyle. Their lifestyle creeped up because of the income. Is that? How
they didn't spend it all. So they basically made their financial life a little bit more stable. Is what I'm assuming. Rent, transportation, and food is what they spent the 310 on. Is this surprising? They didn't spend it all, and where they spent the money.
I don't think I'm surprised. I'm trying to still get my head around it. I don't think I'm surprised. Kristen?
I think the whole thing sounds fishy.
Okay.
Wow.
On average, people worked 1.3 hours less per week.
Because of the extra income?
You can draw your own conclusions.
Correlation, causation, yeah.
Recipients went to hospitals, doctors, and dentists more often, but researchers said there was no direct evidence of improved physical and mental health, while stress and food insecurity reduced for the first year. It leveled out in the second and third years, and participants' long-term financial positions stayed the same.
This is fascinating. Can you send me a link to that? I want to read that.
Sure. Yeah.
I don't have cogent thoughts about universal basic income. I used to think it was a really bad idea, but I'm willing to re-explore it.
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting discussion. I mean, you will hear ardent believers that say AI is going to just decimate jobs and eliminate them for a great amount of people across the country, in the world. And those people who believe it are trying to figure out something else to do, which is, I don't know, at least they're putting money where their mouth is, like Mr. Sam Altman. So I appreciate that. But I think the UBI approach may not be the best solution.
All right. Here goes Pete misinterpreting economics. A new segment.
Yeah.
All right. So let's say what'll happen is there'll be more really powerful people who are creating all the AI to steal all these jobs. So they'll make more of the money. But then what? They'll pay higher taxes, and that tax money will go to fund universal basic income. And that's how this all works. Is that messed up? What am I doing? I don't know.
I'd have to look into it a little bit closer.
All right. Well, hey, this was a fun one. Kristen, I'm glad you made it from Lake Charles, Louisiana to Texas, back home to Northern Indiana. Damn, I'm glad that you've got a fortune in your yard with a bunch of logs. Everyone else, I'm just fortunate you spent some time with us. And so therefore, I'm sending you good vibes, because good vibes are all that's in the budget. I'm Pete the Planner, and this is the Pete the Planner Show. Kristen, are you exhausted? And I don't ask that because I'm not saying, oh, she looks exhausted. Like, I'm wondering that. You look terrible. How are you?
Kind of like when, as a woman, if you show up to an office without makeup on and somebody's like, you look tired. I'm like, no, it's just because I didn't paint my eyes today.
Is that what happens?
That happens all the time. Ask the women you know.
I don't know any women. They don't talk to me anymore.
My Mrs. Advice was on a Zoom call last night for a group that we are a part of.
The Kamala Zoom call that broke the records last night?
And she texted one of her friends who was on the screen, is one of the featured people. And she texted her, "You should smile." And I cringed immediately when she told me that. And I was like, oh, it just must hit different when a woman tells a woman that, because if I were to do that, oh my gosh.
I'm staying out of this conversation. I do want to show you, this just popped up on Facebook since we broadcast on Facebook. This just popped up as a memory from 11 years ago today. Are you guys ready for this? This is a little mind-blowing. This is when Mock Retirement, my book Mock Retirement came out 11 years ago today. I had hair, a little more slender, different glasses.
Are they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, similar vibe, but different. I look a lot younger. That's 35 years old. I'm 46. I look like I've been through some trials and tribulations. I mean, I look a lot younger, right?
Well, you were.
I know, but it's just like, wow. The pandemic really took it out of me, guys. I'll tell you what, all those sweatpants. Wow.
Those are great times.
Those are good times. All right. Kristen, anything else you want to offer us before? Not that you haven't offered enough, especially as tired as you look. Anything else you want to say before we go?
No.
Dame, you got anything? You got anything fun?
I'm just going to spend the rest of the day workshopping ideas for my stump business.
How many? Okay, like jokes aside, how many of those size logs do you have on your mass property in a state?
I mean, technically they're still in pre-inventory stage. So, I could get a number of them. I've got some just outside my wall here, but they're probably a little too far gone to be able to sell with a good conscience at this point. But, dozens.
All right, so I'm going to take a picture in the next couple of days of the property. I'll send it to you all. Maybe I'll try to show on the show next week. Millions of dollars of logs.
Sure.
In South Carmel.
If it's firewood though, they're not going to be as big as that. If he's still got it, unless they're pre-split, he hasn't split them yet.
He hasn't split them.
Okay.
Interesting.
Oh,
Are you guys ready for the hot take? Kristen, are you gonna stick around for it, or are you gonna bounce once we get off?
No, she's with me, meeting with me right after this. So we're here.
All right. Everyone else, stay getting money.